Oh, I should change it to me, shouldn't I?
Probably.
I'm live. The little swirling thing was because I was showing the table. I want to welcome everyone to this show, and I want to welcome Dr. Gail and Nathe. Dr. Gail from Skywalking with Moon, and Nathe from The Third Wish. And what we're going to be discussing today is each one of us, and he was here, but Jeffrey lives in Mexico City, and somebody chopped the utility lines into his building, and he was trying to run the show off a hotspot, and it didn't work. So Jeffrey was here briefly. He is not here now, but Jeffrey Goldstein from Ripecolor. And all of us have not just, we're readers, we're experiencers, and in the case of Dr. Gail, she's a healer and an experiencer and does a lot of work with ETs. Nathe does everything, and he wrote a very good.
So, Nathan, you do everything. So
I was not aware of that.
Everybody's wish.
Not to sell you too broadly, Nathe, or have anyone be disappointed when they meet you, but and then of course, anybody who's followed my channel has watched me wander back and forth between the stones and the cards and everything else. So what I'd like to do is do a quick interview with the two of you, just a really quick one, on what inspired you to create what you've created that's out in the world. And I'll show you what you've created. And all the things we're going to talk about, except a few of my items that have gone astray, you can get in the real world. They exist. So I'm going to start with Nathe, because Nathe may have to leave us a few minutes early because he has other obligations in his life. I can't imagine why. Nathe, what inspired? This is what Nathe created, and I'm going to put it over on the table so we can see it, look at it while we're talking about it.
There you go. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And this is what Nathe, this is my garden, and Nathe's stuff's now sitting in the middle of the garden. Nathe has created the secrets of the mystical control of the saints. Now, what made you want to create this mystical tarot deck?
So I've been reading tarot and tarot cards for a long time. This was created a couple of years ago. And what prompted me to create it was actually first and foremost for me. I wanted to do a deck of cards that I could use for myself for my own readings. And so that was actually a very selfish creation, considering that I would do this for myself, and then maybe some people would be interested to get it as well and use it. But the primary focus was actually for me.
Very good. Well, that's how I started with grids. I built the first grid I ever built. I built it in early 2019, and I built it for my family to see if it worked. And when I found out how well they worked, then I started talking about it, and then I started selling it to my clients. So yeah, it's best to start with yourself. I think
yes,
that works. Why saints? How do they add another letter? Saints. How do saints add another layer to our understanding?
So it was making sense for me because I was doing some spiritual work around the saints, and not really from a religious standpoint, but from using the power of the saints, of the message of the saints, to for my own spiritual development. And so using the energy of and the connection and the spiritual connection with the saints to help me, to guide my clients. And it was not really, it's never been religious, actually. It's been more spiritual.
Yes. I think saints are some of the more spiritual part of the church. It's where you see the church really, I mean, if you understand where saints come from, it's where the church really seems to work in a way even Rome didn't understand. So they're like, well, let's make him a saint. Is there any particular card in this deck that you developed? And I'm going to go through three of my favorites. But
another little thing is that I I wanted to. There's always been this conflict between the church and the esoteric arts and the divination, the
Mm-hmm.
supposed conflict. And in my view, there's no conflict. Divination has always been part of the Bible, the life of Jesus, and so I don't see the conflict.
Right.
And I actually feel that there's actually a connection point between prayer, manifest. Oh, we use all these words, but a prayer, a manifestation, all of that. I mean, like if you look at the Bible, you can see, manifestation boards. If you really want to look at it this way, you can really connect those two words. So that was very important to me. Another aspect of the creation, I actually not an artist whatsoever. I can't draw. I can't do any of this. I really came across the artist. She's Italian, Cristina Scagliotti, and I saw her a deck. The way that I connected with her is I found a deck of cards that I liked. She was the author. I emailed her, would you help create this deck for
Mm-hmm.
me? And the funny part is that, so I'm French American, she's Italian, she doesn't speak English, and we made it work. And it was fascinating is that using Google Translate and just understanding where I was coming from, she understood my vision right away.
Good.
We didn't have to, maybe we had back and forth discussions on 2 cards out of
Mm-hmm.
78. So we were aligned. It was meant to be. We were aligned from the very beginning. Um, the cards that I like the most, my favorite, would be the one that you actually see on the cover, the High Priestess, which would be Mary Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that one. I really like the Hermit, Saint Onofre. I like the
Mm-hmm.
Moon, which is Mary. Uh, I like the aces, like the Eight of Cups. Like it really speaks to me. Um, I really love the Devil. Actually, funny enough, with the cross upside down.
And it's Nick, yes.
That I think it's kind of a fun one. And then I really have a kick out of Santa Cecilia, which is the saint for music,
Mm-hmm.
and and I really, this one was a little bit of a spiritual development where what really has music to do with everything, and then the key word was harmony, and then when
Mm-hmm.
you talk of harmony, then all of a sudden it becomes very spiritual. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a few. What about you? What did you like?
Okay, my favorite cards. I like this one because it looks like Nath. It's the 4 coins. Nath controls this deck, guys. And then the other one I liked was that is probably one of the best representations I've ever seen of the Seven of Wands. I've
Mm,
always said the Seven of Wands is troubling your way out of a situation. And so when people get the Seven of Wands reversed, they go, "Oh, it's a reverse card." I said, "No, it means you found the answer. You found
yeah.
the way out of the maze." I thought this one was brilliant. That's the best Seven of Wands I've ever seen. And then this one's just evil. This is Saint Catherine, and she's the wheel in the major arcana. And for those who don't know who Saint Catherine was, um, she was made a saint later by the church, but in the early Christian church, she was a woman who was in the Library of Alexandria, and she was teaching a lot of what that line of Christian leaders thought was heretical. So they crucified her on a wheel.
Well, I want to see the strength card. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see who gets to it first. Sure, you will.
Maybe not.
And
Oh
they're
yeah.
really high quality cards, and the illustrations are gorgeous.
It's Saint Mar. I believe Saint Martha. Uh,
Did he get eaten by a lion?
y- let
That was
me.
okay.
I'm sorry, I made
Yeah,
you.
Saint Martha. That's what. And with the lion.
Yes.
Of the lion. Yes, there, she was martyred to the lion. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, beautiful.
I actually found like it was very easy. That was part of the project to connect the majors with the saints. It was a natural connection.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Was its major ethical thought going through it, and then there comes a little companion book in the box, what they call a little white book. It's unreadable. I mean, even with my magnifier on my phone, I was going, "What am I reading?" And so there's also this lovely companion book, which really gives you the overall theme, detailed meaning, how to use the cards for manifestation. He goes into using herbs and different things. It's really a handbook to expand your understanding of tarot.
I appreciate that you mentioned that the companion book that goes with the deck is is not easy to read. That's the least we can say, because failing and making mistakes is part of the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you should have seen the one I had before this one. I spent a whole weekend just trying to do this companion book,
Mm-hmm.
and and the result failed. And so, despite putting so much work, literally really just spending a weekend doing a companion book, putting in page and all of that. And then at the end of the day, I said, well, forget it. I need to do better than that. And I actually ended up doing the whole book, right? This is part of
Right.
the creative process. You mess up, you fail, and then you recreate.
And
Yeah.
and you could put so much more in
Yes.
this book. And I mean, I can tell you when I teach tarot, which Jeffrey and I will be having a class starting sometime in August, it's got detailed meanings, use of the cards and rituals and manifestation purposes. It really covers a whole lot. So if you're looking for a very spiritual deck or just a fun deck or just a really pretty deck, and it's the card quality is incredible. Some cards are so badly made that they start shredding after you read on them 5 or 6 times, and this deck is not that. You will, if you get this deck, you'll love it. And that's enough of my home shopping network. Dr. Gail.
Well, I'm going to start off with who I am first, Nancy Jean. You've known me for so many years. You just go, that's the alien girl.
No, you're not alien. Well, you are, but we'll get into that later.
I'm actually a medium, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a nurse. I'm a chiropractor. And so I'm able to do the unseen and the seen, connect it together with extraterrestrial experiences and able to explain it to people what experiences they're having. Also brings me to, because I have the medical background, I'm able to intuitively help people heal. So first off, am a nurse, a chiropractor, and then a medium would come three, and then a connection to the extraterrestrials came after that.
And okay, I really did cover that in my first question to you. Your work explores ET consciousness and
Okay.
higher dimensional communication. How does that perspective change the way people approach intuition and divination?
Um, well, I think for so many years, since the 40s and 50s, people have been pushed down about any kind of ET contact, and they've been ridiculed, and all these things that were happening for so many years. And now people were not able to talk about their experiences. They were brought out as being crazy. Our whole town would go against them. So what's happening is my channel is bringing these people who are having these experiences together so they can express them, and also that I can help either verify it or help explain what's going on. And I do get my information directly from the ETs. It's the information coming through me to help them. And that's what actually started the channel, was helping those people. When I started having my experiences, I had a friend who helped me through it. Not everybody has a friend like that that's that accepting. So I created the channel to be that friend to help everybody understand their own experiences they're having and to validate it.
Yeah, and the name of your channel, Skywalking with Moon. Once we explain where it comes from, you'll understand completely. Who is Moon?
Moon was my dog. She was my white German Shepherd who has passed on since now. But she and I started meditating together, and she would start traveling with me because I asked her to travel all the time. She would ask her to travel with me. We would go up to the net around this world, and we would sit out there and watch the moon and the stars. Anyway, she eventually became, everybody's going to think this is a wackadoo woman over here, but she eventually became a pilot of my spaceship, also my protector, and worked with me on different missions.
Yeah, Moon answers that one question a lot of people who have pets ask. Are they really superior beings to us? Yes, they are.
She is, because she's a shapeshifter, and she would shapeshift from human to dog, um, and to a yeti. There's the three things I saw her shapeshifting
Okay.
as.
You've written 3 books. 2 are published. The other one's still in the shop getting fixed.
Right. It'll probably be out within the next couple of months.
Okay, and this I have a copy of the first one. It's How I Learned to Fly a Spaceship, and this really goes through
And this is
your
the second one.
and how I met an alien.
Yeah.
Okay, and what Dr. Gail walks you through is if you're not part of that world, and I am reluctantly part of that world, but because I don't look good in those lycra space suits, it's not my look.
I say that all the time, Nancy, but you go into a younger self of yours. You have a choice of what you go in. So you could go into a younger version of
I've
yourself.
worked hard to get to be the old one. I'm not screwing with it now. Anyway, Dr. Gail, if you read this, it will give you some real perspectives, and when you read it, it helps you and makes sense of a lot of stuff that's happened around us, and it makes a lot of when people say, "Oh, time's shifted and the whole world's going to crack apart and fall into pieces," not true, not true. And what do you hope readers take away from your books that they won't find in traditional psychic literature?
Well, it doesn't really fit in psychic, really. It's more would be your ufology,
Mhm.
meeting experiencer category, because it does talk about my journey from meeting, an angel was my first meeting, and then meeting the ETs and how that happened, and then going, and agreeing. They asked me if I'd work with them, and agreeing to work with them, and then eventually learning how to fly a spaceship, and then working on some spaceship. I was actually a neurosurgeon on my very first spaceship, putting in implants, taking out implants, and doing a lot of works on the chakras and working with color therapy, all sorts of different things I learned. So, but I've been on, I think, 3 or 4 different spaceships now working on. So my connection with them is pretty strong. And as I said, that's why I'm here to help other people through their experiences, because whenever people are going through these experiences, they might not have anybody else in their family or any other friend that's going through it. So they can't help them. They can't explain it to them. They're looking at them like, oh my gosh, I hope this person doesn't get committed. And so you need to find your group that understands what's happening, understands what you're going through, and accepts it and explains it. And that's what I'm creating, because going to your family members, they want to support you, but they just don't understand. They just really, if they're not experienced it, they don't understand.
One of my favorite Dr. Gail stories is when this all started happening to you and you began to understand these powers, you went to a friend who was also in the medical world and said, I need a CAT scan. I've got a brain tumor.
That's what I kept saying for 6 months. Every time I go to her, this is what happened. And I go, I need an MRI. So I was saying, I've got a brain tumor. I need an MRI. And finally, about 6 months later, I said, okay, if I have a brain tumor, this is the way I'm going to go. This is the way I want to go. So finally said, I don't have a brain tumor, everybody.
No, she's fine. She's surviving. She's surviving it all quite well. Okay, now the other person that was with us, and so I'm going to show us stuff, is for Jeffrey from Ripecolor and Information. He did this marvelous book about shadow work tarot. So if you have a tarot deck you've never used and you're not sure what to do with it, this will take you through 39 spreads to look at yourself deeply. And I find there's a lot of people that don't really want to do their shadow work in public. That's why it's probably called shadow work, but they really don't want to. This is Jeffrey's created a great handbook. And Jeffrey only reads Rider Waite, and he knows down to last little pimple on a Rider Waite deck. That's what he creates. And so he has just begun to publish, and I think he's got 50 of the pamphlets, and there's a pamphlet for each card, all the major arcana, and he's going through all the minor arcana. And it's a 4 6 page pamphlet, and he goes into everything you ever wanted to know about that card. And those are available, and they're dirt cheap. I think they're a couple bucks on Amazon. So if you have a favorite card you've always wanted to know more about, that might be a good way to do with it. I'm sorry y'all couldn't meet. Well, anybody who's watched my channel knows Jeffrey, but new people that didn't meet Jeffrey, he's absolutely wonderful. And you ought to go there. Okay. We're talked a little bit about my stuff. My stuff, most of the things I created, whether it's the grids or the garden or the whatever. This is a grid, and it grew from, I was working with crystals, and people said, oh, I want to take crystals home with me. This is a thing I can form. Each one of these is handmade. I used to make them by doing personal readings with people, but once COVID hit, that stopped. So I use a deck of cards. We pick out what vibration you need to bring into your life. This is like a little power generator, and it's based on numerology, sacred geometry, and the energy of the stones that are in the grids. And I make those. And that grew out of my grid stuff, and it actually grew out of these little gems, of which I have a few left. It's like there's 3 stones in here. It's 3 stones in this bag, and there's a center stone. There's an explanation. This one's called Art of the Heart, and it's how to work with your heart. There's one called Body and Soul, which has to do with healing your soul. And this one I'll also bring up. Are you going to produce more chakra eggs? Okay, I'm going to show what the chakra egg is. This is one, and this is the other. And this is the heart chakra. And if you notice, it's the heart chakra form. It's got beautiful green. I'd lie. I can't remember what kind of, because I did these 5 years ago. Yes, these are available in the throat chakra. And I have them developed for each of the chakras. And I have a company in Wisconsin that can make them, but they need to make a minimal amount. So if I can get up to 10 people to order them, then I can get them made. I'd have to call them, because I haven't talked to them for a couple months, to see what the price would be. So if somebody really is dying for a chakra egg, these are the last 2 that I have. What are chakra eggs good for? Chakra eggs are good for meditation. They're good for bringing good energy into your life. I had one Akashic Records reader who says it took him to another dimension. I promise you, I don't promise that. That was him. And I'm not sure whether he was ever really in this dimension. Anyway, who knows? But so what we're going to talk about now is there's always room for innovation and divination. But are we simply rediscovering ancient wisdom and bringing it into new formats? Is that how you kind of feel about the stuff you work with?
Well, it's not just, yes, rediscovering and adding our own energy into it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just awakening what's in us.
Yeah. How do you know? Okay, how do you know when a tool serves the user rather than becomes a crutch? And I can tell you from my perspective, someone keeps coming back to me asking me the same question, and I've had people I've followed for years. I've had people ask me the same question 5 years in a row. And if you're still sitting in the same place 5 years later, my telling you something's probably not going to help. So I would assume people could use implements that way. What do you feel like between the 2 of you?
What was it? What's the question?
How do you know when a tool serves the user rather than just becoming a crutch?
Well, I think you pretty much described it. If you don't see somebody moving on or moving past it, and they're asking the same questions, I'm not
Yep.
real. I'm not real sure that there's even any more explanation than what you said, Nancy Jean.
Yeah, I think. Well, what do you, Nath? You read people all over the world, so
Well, I feel like there's a couple things here. Is that sometimes sometimes they come to a reader to make something happen, and they would say, but I don't understand, it's not working. I paid the reader and I'm not getting the result.
mhm.
You're not paying for a result. That, I think, it's a big misunderstanding. You're paying for a reading. A reading is not a result.
Right.
That's that's a good answer.
And if you go to a reader who says, "Pay me $300 and I can guarantee you this is going to happen," don't do that. I came to a woman who came to me after she'd done this. She had a lot of money. She was a trust fund baby, and she was having a lot of difficulty creating value in her life, which sometimes happens when you have too much and you're too young. But anyway, uh, and so she went to this other reader, and the reader said, "Well, the problem is you have all that money in your bank account. You need to give it to me, and I'll watch it for you." I know, I know. So I said, "Here's the name of a really good lawyer here in Dallas who can go get you your money back."
She gave the money to them.
So if anybody ever asks you for an outrageous amount of money or promises you a guaranteed outcome, I can't promise me dawn tomorrow. So, you know, no.
And
Which,
trust your intuition. I mean, it's good that you're asking a reader or a light worker, but
mhm,
sometimes I ask the person, what does your intuition say?
mhm.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have you been inspired by someone else's work over the years?
All the time, every single day.
Mhm.
I'll say yes. You're inspired by, I think, people put in front of you that you're needing to learn, or something that is going to strike something in yourself. I think you'll notice what's being put in front of you, and that ignites something inside of you, maybe, or triggers it for you to start expressing it too, or to catapult you in a different direction.
And one of the things I find is I program my guides to throw weird YouTube programs up that aren't necessarily on my normal feed. And it's so weird when you're talking about the saints and how the saints are kind of a different, they bring out the spiritual part of the church as the opposite. I watched a long, well, it's long for me. It was about a 45-minute documentary on the Gospel of St. Thomas,
Mm.
and how a lot of, he doesn't teach Christ's life. He doesn't say, follow this path. He says, Christ said to do this, and not in the way that the church prescribes, but in a very different. And Christ says, we've lived many lives. You have to prove yourself in all of them. I mean, I never heard that at church. But anyway, but it had a lot to do with a lot of information I've been running across. So you can program, just ask your guide to open up your feed on your YouTube or whatever you watch. Um, what advice would either of you two or I will give someone who's been called to create something in the spiritual world?
Do it.
I feel, um, before you do it, ask yourself why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. I'm not sure that fits exactly how I started, because it was so suddenly.
You were called, the way that I understand is you were called to do something and the why didn't matter, which I understand.
Yes, the why, I think, came a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
But my path might have been a little bit different than some other people's.
And you
And
can.
for me, I was like, "Ooh, push her."
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
I wasn't just gradually dragged it. I was pushed into it.
Yeah, well, it's like when I created the garden, I happened to have a woman who found me who wanted me to become her mentor. And I'm not good at mentoring people. I do it, but it's not my first thought. And I told her that day, she wrote me a lovely email on how she wanted to be mentored. And I wrote her an equally lovely email saying, I don't do that well because that requires like a lot of discipline I don't have. And you go want to be mentored by someone who has more discipline than me. And that night I went to sleep thinking, well, I've taken care of all my business for the day. In the middle of the night, my guides woke me up and they just said, you are such a B word. How dare you treat that woman that way? When you ask people for help, they helped you. And that's all she's asking for is a little bit of help. So I wrote her back the next day and I said, I'm so sorry. My guides have informed me that we're supposed to be connected. She's the woman who designed the silk
Oh,
scarf that the garden's on. So keep yourself open and listen to your guides in the middle of the night, even if they're calling you strange words.
Well, I'm so glad that I did. So, but yeah,
Okay, this is for each of us. If each of us could create one new tool today with unlimited resources, what would it be?
you're wanting us to come up with a new tool right now that we would create with
Well,
unlimited.
if you had an idea for a new tool that you just had unlimited resources to throw at it, what would it be?
Oh, a spaceship.
Okay, Dr. Gale's is easy.
yeah.
Yes, definitely. They're so much fun.
I would say some sort of very powerful crystal ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you do scrying and stuff like that.
Yes.
I could take people up for rides. We could go visit all the planets.
Right. You'd have to
Yeah.
go, and you live in the Carolinas where you have lots of places to park it.
Yes.
Don't park too close to the ocean. You do have hurricanes there. Uh, if I could I'd recreate the garden in a different way. Well, I'm seriously thinking about doing this anyway because the garden consists of the map that's in the garden. I'd spend a lot more time really developing how to interpret that because I have my own interpretation tool. And when I teach people how to, and there's a lot of people, there are about 300 gardens out there, one way or the other. The people who have it, I would much improve. Like you went from your little white book to this, I do that for the interpretation to help people begin to
Mm.
interpret because it's like when I teach tarot, people say, well, I want to read for my friends, but and I give them lots of cheat sheets and stuff. I said, use that cheat sheet until you see the card yourself. And you'll be amazed how quickly those cheat sheets go away. But they're just good there to give you confidence.
Yeah.
And I'd work with more things that connect people to crystals. And if I had unlimited resources, I would create all 12 of the chakra eggs, which also includes all the chakras and the higher self. That one, and I'd build those and put those out there, and you could buy a little dozen. You could get an egg carton and get your little dozen eggs.
I was laughing at Rossi. She says Dr. Gail wants to fly, as
Yeah.
always.
Dr. Gail flies now, but she wants us to be able to enjoy it with her.
Everybody's always asking me that. Take me up, take me up.
Okay, what do you think is the most serious misconception people have about spiritual tools?
I don't know, actually.
I felt they give too much power to the tools themselves as opposed to the psychic ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people don't understand that it's connecting us. It's using a tool to connect us to energy. It's like you're a light bulb and you get screwed in, and then you can have light. The electricity is there. The energy is all around us. We shouldn't necessarily need to have all of those
No.
tools, but they help. And then there's always, and I would tell people to explore, try a pendulum, try tossing a coin, you know, do whatever can help you with that. And then looking back, what creation taught you the most about yourself? Or the thing you've done that you've worked with that's taught you the most about you that you didn't know before you got there. Come on, just cull it down real quick.
Well, I mean, it's everything. For me, it was just one night I'm doing this, and then the next day I'm doing this, working with extraterrestrials. So it completely changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was very focused on the project itself and did not realize like it was one step in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
That actually led me to YouTube. So I was just focusing on getting the deck created, but not realizing I was called to do this for much more than this.
Mm-hmm. Creating a tool, I think the ones I've tried to create is to help people open up. The garden it is really like the garden part is a compilation of all the things I've learned. And one of the things that's bad in tarot, because when tarot was created, um, time moved much more slowly than it does now. Of course, time moves much more quickly than it did 2 years ago. But I mean, it was really slow. So timing wasn't nobody wanted to know when's this going to happen. You know, back in the olden days, it was a different pace of life. And so tarot in its essence came out of a time when that wasn't the question. And also we got very polarized, and people wanted a yes or they wanted a no. And so when I created the garden, when I was negotiating with the higher guides that were leading me to it, I said, I don't want it to be just a yes no thing. And I wanted no politics in it. You cannot roll politics on the garden. When I first created it, I was working with readers who did a lot of politics, and we were trying to show how to use the garden on their shows. And it just frustrated the hell out of Sheila, because she kept saying, oh, let's just ask one. So she was asking one question about the orange one, and every time we'd ask about the orange ones, the stones, and these are not rolly stones. These are they land. They were rolling off the grid. I mean, they wouldn't stay on the. It was a funniest show, and she said, "You're right. This thing won't do politics." So but I did want it to do time, and I can do seasons now, and I can do years. I can count years on the garden, and that's been kind of a blessing for me to see that is available from the energetics around us.
Mm.
But
I was
everybody is.
I was going to add that I would say the most difficult thing, in which we all have in common, was developing the exposure and start developing our YouTube channel.
Right.
And talking about what we do and how we do it. For me, that was probably the biggest hurdle of all.
Did you have what were some of those challenges? Did you have a problem, a concern putting the idea of putting yourself out there?
Oh yeah, Tom. Yes.
I understand. Yeah.
Yes. Just putting yourself out there was something that is not mainstream and been kind of poo-pooed all these years. I think that part was difficult. Probably my most difficult part of my journey.
Yeah, you didn't want it to look like the gift shop at Roswell. Although that is a perfectly legitimate place in the world. I didn't have any I mean, I'm kind of a weird person this way. I had a dream one night, and I was told to create Nancy Jean's garden, and it was a place where people could come plant their spiritual seeds and grow. So I told my two kids the next day, one of which is a computer whiz 48 hours later, I had a theme, I had graphics, I had everything I needed. It was all set up, and they turned it on and said, "Here's your channel." So then I'm there. What do I do with my channel? So I did exactly for the first 6 months of my channel. I did exactly that. I talked about all the skills that I had run across. People use down to reading chicken bones, guys. I mean, every kind of divination tool, and we
Yes.
discussed it, and just kind of, and then I sort of saw where it went from then. And the one thing I just decided to not do for myself personally was politics. I do it on Sunday mornings, but I don't do it the rest of the time. Although Dr. Gail says I talk about it altogether too much, but and but time's speeding up, whether evil people are in charge of the time or nice people. I mean, that's not the deal. The deal is energy is speeding up. And I'm at a point in my life where I'd like to slow down, and I don't. I've been told you are not awarded that possibility. I could have left and not be part of it, but I decided to stay. So, did you have trouble getting your YouTube up, Nate?
I was guided. I was also very quickly got approached for collaborations, and so it's almost like I jumped in the pool more than figuring out to swim, more than a gradual thing.
Right. Mine was a compromise because they were wanting me to do a blog, and I'm going, I'm a terrible writer. I can talk about it easier than I can write. So that's mine was a compromise.
Yeah, and as since Jeffrey's not here, yes, we're still having problems with YouTube. He's his internet got cut while they were repairing utilities around the apartment he lives in Mexico City, and he thought we had it fixed. And just as we were about to come on, he went away. So, um,
We did about hear his journey though. To was it to the pyramids? Which one was it?
oh, Teotihuacan. He went to Teotihuacan,
Oh, yeah.
and he went all the way to the top, and then he laid down in the sun like he was taking a sun bath, just letting. He's been going through a whole lot. He's had lost some close family members and stuff recently, so he's been dealing with all that. And he didn't lose them. He just finally letting them go. They've left our energetic realm, and anyway, so he went with a bunch of spiritual friends. They ended up reading tarot on the top of one of the Mexican
Oh.
pyramids, and he's found in one of the big Mexico City parks. He and his friends found a cave that apparently no one knows is there, and they're having finding all this wonderful stuff and feeling all this great energy in this cave. I mean, Jeffrey should talk more about his experiences in Mexico. He talks to me about them all the time, but they are so inspiring. And someone asked if you can ask a personal question today. No, that's not what, but I'm going to ask the audience a question. If someone's watching today and you have an idea that's sitting quietly in your heart, a deck, a book, a crystal practice, a completely new form of divination, what encouragement would we give them to plant that seed first and grow it in their own garden?
Mm.
What I'd tell you is to really think about it and play with it, play with the idea. You have no idea how many forms my garden went through. And I had playmates. I had Alma and had a couple of other people that were playing with me at the time. We were like little kids. Oh, we're going to make this, sort of like in those old 1930s movies. Let's do a musical.
I mean, it's a good point to talk about. I think the connection with the inner child, inner
Mm-hmm,
child energy. It's a playground.
mm-hmm. And it is. And the other part of it is to work with other people,
Mm-hmm.
to bounce it off other people, and to talk about what things can do. And then I'm really proud of everything I've made. I've never made a fortune at doing any of it, but I'm really proud of the things I've made. You've created a great deck. Dr. Gail has some just groundbreaking, well, earth smashing books, because they're not groundbreaking. She's not talking about going to the inner world. She's talking about going up. And if this people, if you have an answer to, do you either of you two want to answer that? If someone's watching and with an idea quietly in their heart, what would you suggest they do?
Well, I would say because we have those roadblocks in our mind, like I'm not an artist, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
a musician,
Mm.
I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not a writer. You know how long did I say that, Nancy Jean? I'm not
Oh,
a writer. I've got
I
three
heard it all the way to Shasta, all the way back from Shasta in her car.
books. And so what happened? I've written two books and published two books, and almost on my third one. But I keep saying, and it'll slip up once in a while. I'll say, I'm not a writer. And then I go, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I am. So those things that you say in your head, I'm not an artist. I'm not a musician. You've got to not listen to that because you can be anything you want. You can
Mm-hmm.
you can find that artist. You can find that musician if you have something that you want to create.
Yeah, I think I was about to say that, creating can be a very lonely journey too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also about the people around you that either help you with their own abilities, or like, I saw from ethnicity, words of encouragement, people around you that, because when you, I assume, and I can ask this question to both of you, it's a working process for a long time. And so
Mm-hmm.
along the way, how do you get validations or feedback? Do you show friends and family? How did you get something that kept you going in that lonely journey?
Mm-hmm.
You had to find the right person
Yeah.
because so many of you have to figure it out because some of your family members or friends don't really get or approve of what you're doing. So you have to find the right people to talk to.
Yeah, I have family I haven't spoken to in years because they said, "What you're saying is crazy," and I said, "No, being crazy would be to sit here and listen to you say that." So that was the end of that conversation. Well, I can't thank you enough. If you guys would like to tell anybody what you've got coming up, and then we're gonna go off, be done.
Well, Nate, you got something coming up soon, and I got something else this afternoon.
Oh yes, I have just after this I personal readings on my channel. What I'm really excited about is a show on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern where I take the audience. It's a multimedia show and we're going this time to the pyramids of Egypt.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
yes. And okay. Well, this afternoon I've got Craig Campabezo coming on. He is the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac.
Mm-hmm.
He's written a lot of books. He's coming on. He has a lot of extraterrestrial experiences, and he is also was really close to the writer for Valiant Thor, who was an extraterrestrial who came to the Pentagon back in the 50s and met Eisenhower. So he is going to be on my show today, this afternoon.
Okay, and I'm gonna make chicken pot pie for my grandchildren and take it over and see them. They're visiting up in Dallas, seeing their dad before he goes off and goes Wisconsin, Mississippi, all these other places. Anyway, but and don't have another show this week. I've got some readings. What I've got coming up is I really do a lot of readings for people, and I do a lot of they kind of lay it out a lot of different ways. I'm still doing my 6 month readings from July to December, and I think we're going to in for an interesting 6 months. Um, and I'm starting a book club. It's called The Accidental. It's based on a 4 book series called The Accidental Medium, and it talks about in that book a lot about what we just talked about. This poor woman, she sort of gets struck one day like Dr. Gail. Oh my God, I'm a medium. And then her whole life takes off. But what she gathers around her is other people who have spiritual bents who can help her understand what she's seeing and how to live with it. And that will be a book club. It'll meet once a week, starting either in August or September. I'm going to be teaching another tarot class. And I love teaching. And Jeffrey teaches with me. And don't forget to go into the description and see what Jeffrey does, and go to his channel and see, because he is alive. He's there somewhere. He's lost in the web somewhere. And thank you to all the people who
Thank you
came.
for having us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.